face is shiny, shadowy. Welcome back to Crypto Casuals, and it's been a minute. We basically had Ethereum and Bitcoin and the whole token space crashed, rebound. NFTs are running this week. I think the trio of us haven't been together in, it's over a week now. So I wanted to open it up, guys, and all you guys out there that are subscribing or listening for the first time. I say this every show, but we're a new show, so I'll repeat it. We're not experts in the crypto or NFT space. Sometimes we hit and we strike out. Sometimes we swing and strike out. Sometimes we hit home runs, and we're learning. And this show is really very much about that. It's about learning. It's about sharing what we're doing, sharing what we're thinking about, sharing what we're learning with you guys, so that maybe you can make educated decisions and avoid some of the pitfalls of the NFT space and the crypto space as well. Some news maybe to share. OpenSea, they're facing a little bit of backlash for making the decision to go the traditional Wall Street route. So they're going to be going IPO, where a lot of people who are NFT enthusiasts are asking, why not go the ENS token route, right? Why not reward your early adopters, early consumers? So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. We have a few crypto projects to talk about, and Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. What happened this last week, So that's just a quick intro.
Just throwing a quick little topic there. How about what's going on with the punks and how they were held up as kind of like the bluest of blue chips, and still probably are, but that some people in the punk community have started to sell their punks because of, the commercial rights. That the commercial rights are being kept with Larva Labs.
Which is kind of defeats the purpose of what an NFT typically is, right?
Yeah.
So give people the breakdown, Gage.
Well, I mean, if you check it out on Twitter, some of the more high-profile, CryptoPunk holders, have written that they've reached out to Larva Labs about this. Said, one of the things about, about the NFT space that everybody likes going forward into Web3 is that people have the commercial rights to their PFP, their NFT, and that if you own a certain Bored Ape and that ape is used in a movie, then it's your ape. You're getting the royalties. Right. And if something happens in the metaverse where somebody is using your ape in the metaverse, or you are able to use it, you have the commercial rights to it. Make a shirt, make shoes,
Correct.
et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just one of those things that people talk about as, look, we're in phase 1, maybe we're in phase 2. That might be like a phase 8 type of thing. But this place moves so fast. The space moves so quickly that's just one of those things that people who have that much invested now, thinking about, an ape being worth, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, and a punk being that or more, easily. People want to know that it's something that it's theirs, that they own, especially when you have the whole back and forth of, I can just, right click and I'll get a screenshot. I own that JPEG also, and there are people who have started selling their punks because, according to their posts, they're not getting feedback from Larva Labs that they would like. They're not getting hey, sure, we'll turn over the commercial rights. I mean, think of how much that's worth, obviously. I don't know if Larva Labs turning it right over, but, I guess the space has moved in such a way that that's something that people are obviously looking for. They're looking for, if they're going to own this, that they want rights to, anything that flows from it. And I
have a million questions on this already, and I'm not even sure which one to start with.
Sure.
I'll give the floor to Shadowy because there's so many, from that one topic, there's so many little branches that can be discussed, and I'm just kind of thinking of which one to start with. Shadowy, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's nice to see that. One thing I've been worried about is this whole space is just speculation. You can still speculate on CryptoPunks, but it seems like people find less value in them now that they don't have any kind of rights to them. So it's not purely speculation that they're after. They really were after some tangible, some useful future rights in them. It's nice to see that's not just speculation.
Do you think is this written in a smart contract? Do any of you guys know?
The copyrights and things like that? No,
yes,
that's never written in a contract.
Why can I use apes and I can't use punks? Just because the founding company is saying yes or no? Cage, you're a lawyer. Explain to me the difference.
Yeah, I mean, the company either maintains the rights or grants the rights. You know, I remember
In what
minting
form?
World of Women, and part of their webpage basically said, when you mint this, you have ownership of this. When you mint one of these, the person who gets that one, you have the right to, any commercial, rights of it. I mean, I don't know the right word, right? I mean, and basically the thought there being, if you wanted to make a derivative of it, if you wanted to sell prints of it, if you wanted to put your, particular woman on a hat or a shirt or whatever it is, and somehow incorporate it into your own brand, you have it. In Fatales, I always bring that up. I own a lot of them, guys. We'll throw that out there. I know one woman who has her own law firm used the Fatale that she owned as the logo for her law firm. I use that as an example just because it's the one.
She rebranded her entire law firm to the Fatale?
With the Fatale PFP, the Fatale, as the logo of the law firm.
I gotta ask you a question. Are you purposely using your FM AM DJ voice on this episode? Because it's just like you're right here into my negotiation. Like anything you'll ask me to, I'll do right now.
Yes.
Like you've hacked my brain. If you guys don't know, it's actually my shadowy coder.
I have brain control. I'm laying eggs in your brain.
You are a brain vomit. I would agree.
Not mind control. Brain control. It's better than mind control. Shadowy, do you know what movie that's from?
No idea. Tell me.
That's from Dinner for Schmucks. Steve Carell.
All right.
I love Steve Carell. Zach Galifianakis have a battle. One has brain control and one has mind control. It's a very funny scene if you haven't seen
it. I've watched like the first 15 minutes of that movie and I was so weirded out I turned it off. It was that weird. It was over the top weirdness for me.
Yeah. It's weird.
You agree?
It's definitely weird. But then it's a good movie. It ends well.
So let me ask a different question about punk. So in these, like, we're in like a very tribal culture, right? Like, you buy into an NFT, you buy into a token. It's like we all push. Yeah, like we're all pushing in one direction, and it's a community with really strong communities like CryptoPunks and apes. Isn't it? How do I word this? I would be worried to sell because I'd be maybe getting some backlash from the community. Like, why are you selling? You see this in Discord all the time.
People who are selling definitely backlash.
But having an excuse makes it at least a little easier, right? Like, why are you selling? Well, I don't know. I just want to sell. You get backlash. Versus here, you have like, oh, they didn't grant me the rights. Well, you probably knew that a year ago or 6 months ago when you bought the punk in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, you have to go out on a limb here and trust that the person, was holding it, hoping that they were going to be able to get those rights. Hoping that, Larva Labs would come around to, letting people, get those right. I mean, I guess it's just, you'll never know someone's intention. If your question is, can somebody create that as kind of like the, the cover story for why they're getting out and cashing out, and that softens the blow with the community? Sure, I can see that.
Has Larva Labs said
he sold multiple? I think he's keeping
and
one.
And it's because Larva Labs said, no, we're not giving you rights? Or did they just say, we don't know yet? Like,
shadowy,
is there any...
I wish I knew more about the punks. I can disappear and be shadowy coder for a second and probably find this on Twitter. The guy's like Punk2535. It's like that's his name on Twitter, Punk, whatever it is. And you can probably find it with a quick search. And, his tweets yesterday and the day before were basically like, I'll always keep Punk 7123, whatever the heck it is. I'll always keep that punk because it's become part of my, my persona and the whole deal. That's my online diss. But I'm going to be selling out of these other ones because, and, he went through it on Twitter. But like, I reached out to Larva Labs and their response to me was not what I was expecting or not what I was hoping for. I can try to find it if you like. You probably look at shadowy.
Of course.
But I mean,
let's talk crypto a little. But while he's looking that up,
go also ahead, you can tie this into, just the overall thought process of people, right? Is it entitlement? Is saying that they were expecting Larva Labs to ultimately grant them commercial rights? Is that a feeling of entitlement that people have? And now I'll lay this one up for you. Does that same feeling of entitlement, is that really what we're going to call it, or is it something that we should be expecting when the IPO you mentioned, when OpenSea decides they're going to go IPO, there were a lot of big names on Twitter basically saying, hey, I hope I get my preferred stock I wonder how much they're going to give me. These are people who
I
are
don't get it.
expecting OpenSea to go the token route, and because they've spent so much on OpenSea, that they will be. So you don't get it. So I'll lay it out.
I think it's a ridiculous expectation. I think it's a ridiculous expectation. Nowhere
Web3
did they say that they were going to do this ever.
No one ever said it, but I think people who participate in Web3 and in this space, they are pushing.
Are participation trophies? If
believe
they
in
want
the
participation trophies, I don't want to be in the Web3.
Well, I don't think it's participation, but I think they believe in the narrative that companies understand that they're only going to get a valuation that they get based on the people who are participating and building up their brand. At least that was the thought process behind ENS. That they were rewarding the people who went out there and registered their names and used their names and gave them a value, right? And the people who are these bulk buyers on OpenSea, I think they will argue the same, that OpenSea will go out there and get a multi-billion-dollar valuation because people in the space used them, built them up, made them basically the only game in town, and that the way this space works, they were expecting that participation in it, that their role was then going to be rewarded, that it's not just an entitlement on the part of the people using it, it's just that the companies in this space, that's the way they're going to behave going forward. That's what people expect. The companies in this space are going to be different than the other types of companies that are out there that just look to maximize money for themselves. They realize that it's a team effort, a back and forth. At least that's kind of the narrative I'm spinning. What do you think about that? Shadowy, did you find something?
Found a little bit. This is curious.
Well,
So,
let's stay on OpenSea first. Let's stay on OpenSea, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Why?
ENS needed people's participation. OpenSea provided a service that made all of these dingalings and pranksies and floor sweepers millions of dollars, and they take 2.5%. Yeah. Why did they think that they are doing OpenSea a favor? These guys have just got generational wealth trading JPEGs through this eBay platform. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Named, I think they would turn around and say, you know what, those are people who have had millions upon millions of dollars traded on that platform. They've brought notoriety to it. They've posted about it. They've given more
it's mutually
PR
beneficial
publicity. And yeah, they've made money on it and they've done well. But I think that the thought of those folks is that they are as much responsible for building up the valuation of OpenSea as anybody who is at OpenSea. That's what they would tell you. And that's
absurd.
But so I get it. And listen, I'm an old man. And my take is, look, you know, I mean, a company is going to go IPO and they're going to, you know, retain value out of it and they're going to have shareholders. And that's just the way it's always been. But if we spend enough time on Twitter NFT, you know, the thought is that why blockchain works, why crypto works, is because it's supposed to be something new. It's supposed to be releasing us from the shackles of the old. It's supposed to be getting us away from the dollar and a control by the government and the bigger corporations. And I think people really do believe in this space that Bitcoin is a way to avoid being controlled by a government and the government's currency and the big companies. And I think that they are trying to extend that, and in some cases rightfully so, to the companies that participate in this space. OpenSea being the biggest. And I think people just assumed, and clearly wrong, that OpenSea was, you know, the place that Web3 was going to be born, you know, the place that people were going to be buying and selling their NFTs, and that, you know, that they realized that this was a community effort, just like crypto is a community effort. And just like, you know, we're all in this together. They don't say
we're all going to make it.
You know, when you wake up, you don't see on Twitter OSGMI, you see WAGMI. Nobody's writing OpenSea is going to make it. They say we are going to make it. And really, if you believe in that, and that's the core principle of what we have going on in the space, right? Then I can understand why these people would think that companies would reward the people who have basically built the valuation for them. No?
It's for me, I'm wondering, like, we don't know the limits of what a DAO can do yet. You know, we don't know what the limits of a DAO, you know, isn't good at doing yet either. So, you know, it's hard to say if a DAO would be the best way to manage a place like OpenSea, because OpenSea is way more complicated than some of the DAOs we've been thinking about. OpenSea is managing these contracts of like multi-million-dollar projects and things. So I don't know if a DAO is capable of handling that. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But this is all unexplored territory, and maybe down the line we will see that it was better that OpenSea was kept out of the hands of a DAO. Maybe we do need private people, making decisions for these things. It's hard to tell.
I'm with Shadowy. Like this whole DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, is great, but where's the customer service? Some things need to be centralized with where you could reach out and say, "Hey, I had an issue with my transaction. Can you please help me?" So like DAOs are great, but like some things should be
now without
centralized.
going public.
Correct. Going public is to get money for the early investors and the CEO and the employees who worked really hard and created $1 billion product. How else could those employees get paid out?
Tokens.
Give the employees a lot of tokens?
Yeah.
And then offer the token to the general public?
Yeah. And it would be the same as ENS. It's the same thing. It's just a different governing structure.
Yeah, but Pranksy in this, I don't know. I'm not going to, sorry, Pranksy, if you're listening, not just using, but like, he's not an employee, he's a user.
Right, but you don't just give it to employees. You give it to employees, initial investors, people who are Discord mods for them if they have it like on ENS, and you would have
which is an employee,
formula.
basically.
Look, ENS did a good job. We'll go back to that just because it's the most recent one. It's in everybody's memory. They had a formula, they had a math formula where it's like, okay, if you bought in, how long have you been in? How long did you have it for? How many do you have? And all this other fun stuff, right? They had like a formula, math. I'm sure if OpenSea wanted to go that route, they could also come up with a formula based on how many transactions you had or how much money you spent, sort of like a rake back type of thing. You know what I mean? How long you've had your account for. I'm sure there's a million little triggers that they could come up with, a bright line demarcation of if you've been in for more than a year, you get this, there's a multiple, and you've traded more than 1,000 times, you get this, and this. And it's just like offering, preferred stock. Same kind of thing. The only difference being that the governing organization, right? But listen, what's notable, the people who are complaining about this on Twitter, I have not seen anybody complain yet that they don't like that it's going to be a board of directors with a CEO and a publicly traded company beholden to a shareholders instead of a DAO. Like the complaints were basically like, "Where's my token? Where's mine?" It wasn't, "Hey, this space is great. We shouldn't be doing it the old way because we should be a DAO and by the Constitution and govern ourselves." Like I didn't read any of that. So that may be behind it. I don't know. Maybe that's maybe that's today's tweet. I don't know.
I got to tell you, I'm worried about crypto. And I play in percentages now in my head.
But wait a second. Guys, just to prepare you. On any given Tuesday, he thinks Ethereum's going to go to 10 million. Bitcoin is the greatest store of wealth. But today he doesn't like it. Today it's worried about it. So just don't hang up just yet. Like don't.
I think that's good though, Cage. I think that's good because you have these two corners, right? Like you have the Peter Schiffs of the world who are like, "This is a sham. This is a joke. Buy gold." And then you have like the Raoul Pauls that are like very in his British accent, like very elegantly, like, "Oh, Ethereum is the greatest thing since sliced bread."
I like that Raoul Paul, man. Sachet.
Bitcoin is created by God. I heard Michael Saylor say, and I think it's more of this like percentages. But
Shadowy, my RuPaul joke just went like this.
He's my people. He doesn't watch movies. We read books, Cage. Just kidding.
Nope.
But here's the thing: when your barber buys Bitcoin, that's when you know to sell, right?
Yeah.
Who is the other layer after that guy? Like after your plumber buys Uber stock, who is left? And I think that's a genuine question to ask. So I do believe Bitcoin, Ethereum, all is going to be around long term. I think blockchain is going to be around long term. But I do have these skepticism or hesitations to wonder where are we in the economic cycle when everybody is buying into Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins. Like I'm here in Tulum, Cage. There's a crypto community. Like I met them at the dojo. By the way, bro, if you want to go tomorrow, it's at 1 p.m. They have like crypto communities and they text each other which altcoins to buy. Am I crazy?
No, I think the part of your premise there is if you're worried about crypto, you're worried about crypto short term as a tradable commodity, because if people are buying in and you're the first thing about Bitcoin was whether or not it would have universal adoption, whether or not there was a use case for it, whether or not it was something that was going to be used at all, whether it was just one of those things that was going to be just for weird nerds in their basement. And the fact that your dentist is buying it, or your cab driver is buying it, or that there's a group of people in Tulum who are now crypto experts, that's a positive for the long-term viability, usability, and sustainability of something like Bitcoin.
They're not experts, Cage.
Now, negative.
They sent me Gary V's wallet, and I had to tell them, you're buying into a mint that's not his wallet.
Right, but that's different, right? So that's the flipping side of it, right? If people are sending you what coins, what alts you should buy, then, and your concern is that in the short term, since your dentist bought it, he doesn't have somebody to dump it onto next week at a 20% premium, sure. But there are people out there who are not in this just for a 20% flip week over week. I mean, there are plenty of day traders, don't get me wrong. But to say you're worried about, crypto, you're not really worried about crypto. You're worried about crypto as a short-term trading vehicle.
I'm worried about crypto. I'm worried about the investment of crypto for people who are in our sports card community and our crypto casuals community who are overexposed, whether they took on debt to buy it, whether they have over 30% of their net worth in it.
All right.
Those are the
I get that. But I mean, everybody has to remember it's run. I mean, it's funny. We haven't talked to our crypto casuals, audience in a while, but from last week to this week, we saw that, wow, it was a crash. People talked about it Thanksgiving, a crash, right? It was down 20% in one day. It was a crash. All right. After the crash, it was 4,000. It was like 1,800 in May.
Yeah. We released our Lucas Tigers NFTs end of September, which guys,
4,600.
Right. Now's a good time to buy in, just so you guys know. LucasTigers.com, right? Or is it .nft? LucasTigers.com. Yeah, it was 2,800, 2,600, and that was 2 months ago. That's a 50% increase.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on how wide of an angle you want to look at it with. What do you got for me, Shadowy?
I'm wondering right now.
I want to let him speak.
His brain's still in New York with lollipops.
Yeah, that's right. 4-day vacation.
He's like, what was I doing yesterday? Oh, I know what I was doing at this time yesterday.
Ooh. We can talk about punks in a sec, but my question is, like, there has to still be a safe haven somewhere in the crypto world. If you think the crypto world's going to crash, do you think it's going to be the entire world, or do you think there's still going to be some niches that keep afloat? Like, maybe that's what we're looking for, because there's no other investment vehicle that makes you these kinds of returns right now. So it still seems like a good idea to find a way to stay in crypto, even if you think a crash is coming. It's just, where do you want to find that place to stay?
You know how I know it's not going to all crash? Now I know I'm taking my son to the store the other day. It was one of these like discount stores called D2, right? We're walking around because he went to a holiday fair in his school and he couldn't find anything for his sister. So we're walking around the store and there's a section with like holiday pajamas. Like for adults, there's huge, 6 foot on the display. And one of them next to this like Santa Claus elf looking one is kind of like a knockoff Superman. It's blue, right? It's a blue like Superman, Batman type costume. But where the Superman S would go right here in the middle, there was a dollar sign, like a gold dollar sign. My son looks up at that and goes, "Hey, is that Bitcoin Man?" Now he's 8, right? Is that Bitcoin Man? And he's like, "No, it's not a B. It's an S. Maybe it's Shibu." But I would buy that if it was Doge. And I'm like, "How do you know what Doge is?" He goes, "It's a dog. It's a dog coin. It's a meme coin. This is 8 years old." Right? And I had no idea he knew this, right? No clue. He doesn't listen to our show that I know of. That's how I know it's going to be fine. Because he's in 3rd grade. How the hell does he know what Dogecoin is?
Fine.
It'll be fine.
Let me ask you then. Rate these investments from 1 to 3. Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. You go first, Shadowy, because I don't want you to be biased by Mr. Cage.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. Ethereum, and then Bitcoin, and then altcoins. I put Ethereum at the top because it has a platform underneath it. Bitcoin is solid, but altcoins at the bottom because I On average, they're not going to pan out for you. If you get lucky, you could win the lottery for sure. But on average, no. Ethereum's definitely your bet. That's my take.
And Ethereum's your number one over Bitcoin because it has like the actual utility and application to it.
For the platform that's about to be created underneath it, on top of it, in it, everywhere around it. Yes.
Inside of it. Inside of you. Do you know what that's from?
No, I know it's from a movie though.
It's from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Russell Brand sings
It's from
Inside
Sarah
of
Marshall.
You. It's Forgetting Sarah
That's
Marshall.
right.
Yeah.
Beside
Infant Sorrows.
Do you know Jonah Hill's in that movie? Dude,
Yeah,
he
of course.
kills
You
it.
sound like you're from that then.
Not only is he in it, they made a sort of sequel from it, Get Him to the Greek, where Jonah Hill's character and Russell Brand's character carry over, where he's going to try to get him to a concert, and they reprise the role. P. Diddy's in it. Yeah, it's not the greatest movie, but yeah,
Entertaining enough.
what do you say?
Entertaining.
All right, I want to hear your take, Cage.
So it depends on what we're doing it for. Store of wealth, just overall sustainability. Is there a time frame? 6 months, 1 year, forever? What are we doing?
I think long term. That's where my answers were. Long term.
So I go Bitcoin first, Ethereum second, altcoins a distant third. Altcoins scare me, but I'll tell you why. And so it really depends on where you're going to go with this, right? Everybody's talking about Ethereum as a use case, and I remember calling Andrew up when he was trying to sell me. What is that? It sounds like a pirate trying to take a cork out of a. Okay, so it's like like a cork in a bottle.
I had ADHD growing up. So they said. My mom never gave me Ritalin, but so I always have to be doing something during our shows.
It's all right. I want to make sure it wasn't my stuff. So
Cage two-fist soda during the shows.
I drink my soda, exactly. So I'm gonna take another swig right now. I remember calling Andrew up and saying, "Hey, Ethereum's the way to go," because Ethereum is basically the currency that all of this NFT craziness is built on, right? And that you don't even have to pick what the right NFT is. There will be a right NFT. Whatever the right NFT is going to be based on Ethereum, right? That's what's going on here. Now there are other types of cryptocurrency that they're building NFTs on now, and obviously gas has been a problem. Who knows what's going to happen with NFTs, right? And the thing that scares me about Ethereum and altcoins is not that I think this is going to happen, but when the first winter comes, okay, just like in Game of Thrones, it takes a while to get here. People talk about it for a whole bunch of seasons. It'll eventually come, and it'll be lackluster. Something will come, like the winter will come, crypto winter will come, and Ethereum will be down. People will leave NFTs. We'll only have several NFTs survive. Altcoins will just get demolished, right? Bitcoin will be there because Bitcoin is not being based on this altcoin baloney. It's not being based on JPEGs, right? But the flip side is this, right? While the going's good, right? What keeps crypto going is the community. It's what keeps NFTs going. You got 5,000 rabid fans all bolstering up their own GameStop type of Discord, all saying that they're crypto more.
I'm worried they'll turn on each other.
And that's very possible. Once the going is not good, they turn on each other. But for right now, when the going's good, which is what I premised this with, both altcoins, because you can kind of, get enough people into it, enough GameStopping going on altcoins, and all of a sudden they move in the right direction.
And NFTs as well.
Same thing with NFTs and Ethereum. So
while it's good, shoot. Does this whole thing unravel? Let's talk about Ethereum. So Bitcoin, I agree, it has limited supply. It is kind of been accepted as a store of wealth. We could debate that if we want because it doesn't have a ton of utility. But ETH, does this whole ecosystem fall apart if ETH is at $1,000, the conversion rate to fiat? Does it all fall apart?
No, it was working when it was at 1,000 or close to 1,000. I mean, people were doing NFTs last year.
And maybe gas is even lower, right? Like maybe it actually works better. So I'm not saying that Ethereum, the ecosystem goes away, but I'm wondering there's a lot of speculation on the actual price of Ethereum, the price of altcoins, the price of Bitcoin, I think with the hope that it goes up.
People who preach 1 ETH is 1 ETH will be tested a lot when their ETH goes from 4,800 to 1,000.
If that happens.
That's when, if it happens. I mean, I thought your question was premised on if it's at 1,000, but if it's at 1,000, then you all of a sudden, then it's WDMI.
ETH is gonna hold more of the retail market for sure, because it's the thing you can interact with easily. You can play with it. You can play games, listen to music, do all that stuff. So ETH is gonna hold the retail part of the market, and then Bitcoin can hold the big money spenders, the people who just want to invest the whole portfolio into crypto. They'll put it into Bitcoin. So that makes sense. So which one of those two worlds is bigger?
Well, I have never heard of a government saying that they're going to start buying Bitcoin. I mean, what was the country?
Yes, they do.
I mean, not Ethereum. Is what I mean.
Ethereum.
They're doing it on
Yeah.
Bitcoin, but not Ethereum. So that's which one I think is safer, right? You have these countries saying, "All right, well, Bitcoin went down into the 40s. I'm going to buy 140 coins of it and prop it up."
Right.
You know what I
Does
mean?
there have to be one? Like there's only
No,
been a
no,
few countries
definitely.
that have adopted even Bitcoin, but once Ethereum gets there, it's foreseeable that they could do two, Bitcoin
Shadow.
and Ethereum.
Chainlink may beat them all.
So
Who knows?
China's gone the complete opposite direction of us, right? On crypto. And they're actually the biggest holders of gold, and they don't let gold leave the country. So we hear about these big Bitcoin buys because people track wallets, and it's obvious if someone buys a lot of Bitcoin, you can see who it was, right? You can do a little. Are we not knowing in the background that countries are actually buying up a ton of gold? Are they still using gold as a reserve currency, or do we think Bitcoin becomes reserve currency? Or are we kind of in this period of we're going to figure out?
It's hard to know if China's doing that because they see the future or because they're just unable to adapt, right? So I don't know. They're making a bet 50-50.
They want to dominate America. Like it's in their manifesto.
With gold?
They want
to build gold tanks. What are they going to do with the gold? You drop gold on our heads?
So you guys out there, Cage was right. Like depending on the Tuesday, I'm so, and it's because of this. Like gold for thousands of years has been a store of value. It's used in computers. It has real life utility. And then we have this creation of Bitcoin, which has a lot of the properties of gold for digital. Maybe they both are going to coexist.
I got a question for you. Who created Bitcoin, and why is that more relevant this week than last?
You're going to ask me about the trial of the century. Did you hear about that, Shadowy? So in Miami, there's this guy named Craig Wright. He wrote the Bitcoin white paper. I need to read it. I don't know how to read, so that's going to be tough. Maybe I'll get an audiobook. But he wrote the Bitcoin white paper in like 2010 of how exactly this monetary system should work, right? And then disappeared. Just kind of off the face of the earth, right? But it wasn't just one guy that we think created Bitcoin, right? Satoshi Nakamoto, kind of like a pseudonym. Who is this guy, right? And inside of Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet is billions of dollars of Bitcoin. I think he's like the 100 billion richest person in the world, or she, we don't know, in this wallet. And Craig Wright once appeared on TV. They asked him, like, are you the creator of Bitcoin? And on TV, in front of like a huge audience, he couldn't remember the private key. He couldn't log into his wallet, right? So that whole thing happened. There was a ton of speculation as to who is the creator of Bitcoin. So Craig Wright's old business partner this week or this month in Miami is suing Craig Wright, saying that he's the creator of Bitcoin. And because he's the business partner, I'm entitled to 50% of the money. It's kind of an interesting legal strategy because Craig Wright, I think, was living in London, to get him out of hiding, so to speak, and let the courts mandate who is the creator of Bitcoin. And they just yesterday, I think this is going to be appealed, Cage, obviously, but they ruled that Craig Wright is in fact the creator of Bitcoin. Now, did you read up on this last night? You didn't. I would need a legal perspective on this because you are a lawyer. You are the type of lawyer that's not really a lawyer, I'm learning. Like, you're the lawyer that, like, contract law, insurance law. Are you just nodding your head?
I was on mute. I was letting you have your rope.
I came to the end of the rope and I don't know.
How many penalty kicks have you ever stopped in your life?
I was a great penalty kick taker, actually.
No. How many have you stopped?
None. I didn't play goalie.
But wait, you were a soccer player. How could you never have stopped a penalty kick? You played soccer at a high level.
I love this. I love when you take me on a journey that I don't know where I'm going to.
How could you never?
It's like shrooms, kind of. Or Amazcal.
there are lots of lawyers just like there are lots of doctors, right? And when you have a problem with your appendicitis, you don't go to a podiatrist, right? You don't go to a foot doctor. Otherwise, you're going to end up dead. So just like there are specialties in soccer, the guy who can stop the penalty kicks as opposed to you, he disappeared.
You upset him, man. You upset him. I can hear him crying in the other room. I cleaned up quick.
But just
I
like
hit Command R instead of Command T.
It's all right. It's good stuff. But no, I get what you're saying. I would have to research it. The interesting part about this is the thing I'm thinking of right now. The first cool thing I'm thinking of right now is this guy can't get in his own wallet. And obviously, if his business partners sued him, it's because he wants half of what's in the wallet.
$54 billion.
This guy can't get in the wallet. What happens? Does the court say figure out a way to pay him? It's not this guy's fault that you lost the key. You owe him $50 million, billion, whatever, $1 trillion. Who the hell knows? Is there a way to get into it? Is this now going to be the secret back door of getting in wallets that we all thought we couldn't get into? And is that 141 punk wallet? Is this court case going to be now the way to figure out a way? What?
That's my wallet.
It's yours. It's your wallet. That 141 punk's your wallet. I figure it probably is. I mean, listen, it's funny because now everybody's talking about it, but I remember reading an article like 3-4 years ago about some dude who lost his computer with like 200 Bitcoin in it, and it was in a dump. And he was like lobbying the local government to let him go in and like excavate the garbage, and that if he found his computer with the Bitcoin in it, that he would split the hundreds of thousands of dollars with the town, and it's probably worth like $3 trillion now. But they never let him go in and dig. So this is obviously something that it happens. It's just, by the way, that's crazy. I want to throw that out there too. That is a crazy aspect of this cryptocurrency. That there are quote unquote wallets that are worth millions of dollars that simply can't be accessed. That is nuts. It's nuts. And
is that the equivalent though of Cage, like, hey, I was really rich and my house burnt down and I had millions of dollars under the mattresses?
No, because in the virtual world, it still exists somewhere. Like if I have $1 million in cash that burns up, it's gone. Like there's not a magician who can come in.
No.
And
Matter is neither created nor destroyed. It's just transferred.
But those dollars are gone. But more importantly, you would think at some point in time, if some magician could come up with the key, the private key, or what I think needs to happen? I think somebody needs to send them a message on Discord. That seems to be the way to get anybody's private key. Just send a little message on Discord. Oh, my private key! I've been hacked. That's the way. Let's get. There you go. Well, the 141 punks, they're yours. There you go. Just click here. Click here. We'll make your day. We'll make you rich. I'm an African prince. Boom.
All right. So let's. I think Huxley Comics is doing a cool NFT, guys. I'll talk a little bit about that. So, are there any topics you guys are curious about? You want to bring up?
We haven't rounded off the punks yet. We can round that one out.
Yeah, round the punks. Let's go, Shadowy.
So
I think Shadowy should be on Game of Thrones.
I'm gonna have to do some more studying.
The metaverse edition.
What would he be? What house would he be in? What would he be in? High
The one with a beard.
With
one with the beard.
Can you sing the Lollipop song? Maybe she'll listen to the show. Sing Lollipop, Lollipop.
He's not proud of the show yet.
Lollipop. Boom, boom, boom.
All right, let me tell you a little something about these punks. So with this page I'm reading right now is telling me that up to $100,000, the owners of an NFT are allowed to take up to $100,000. They have commercial rights to $100,000 per year, and then after that, they don't have rights anymore. Something I've never heard of before. But yeah, Larva Labs is saying that nobody owns the full commercial rights to any of their NFTs, any of their punks that they own, which is interesting. And there's a lot of people upset about it. My first take on it was, though, that like these punks came out way before any of the other NFTs did, right? So they can't, and they weren't even bought in the original mint. They were just like handed out to wallets for free. So we don't necessarily need to hold these to the same standard that all the other NFTs that are being created today are being held to. These were from a little bit of a different time, created in a different way. That's my thing. So I don't think people are allowed to be too upset. I think it's a little bit greedy for them to say like, I want all of my rights. You know?
Yeah, but then people are just going to start investing in apes as the go-to because you could take an ape. Let's say you own like North Face, right? You're the CEO of North Face and you own an ape. You could you have the infrastructure to go ahead and create an ape backpack.
100%. Yeah. You can go, like, I think either way is an option. And each business, each NFT project gets to choose how they want to play this game. And sounds like Punks didn't want to play it that way, the normal way. So they're keeping all their rights, which I think is pretty interesting. And then also I found out in my little search that there's also something called Funks, Phunks. So Funks are just basically the mirrored version. And I don't know how this is, like not copyright infringement, but Funks have been created on a centralized network. And so there are some Twitter profiles that are talking about how Punks are dead and Funks are in. So you can go over to Funks and you can have all of your IP. You can keep the commercial rights. So if you're really upset about your Punk not having any commercial rights, go get a Funk instead. And hopefully you don't get sued for commercial copyright infringement.
Who would sue? Larva Labs would sue?
Larva Labs, right? Like you can't just mirror image the McDonald's M and think you're going to get away with it. I don't know. Like that seems so silly to me. So there's going to be some lawsuits there.
You see so many ape projects. You see like the little baby apes. It's a wild, wild west because like people create all of these knockoffs and they sell them for like 1/100th of the price, but that's still like $300-400.
Yeah, and then the project creators make their big little their bunch of money off the mint, and then the projects always dive. Like, have you ever seen one that succeeded? Just recently, there was the baby punks that were released, and they're garbage now.
As long as you got one.
Oh, I got one, but it's worth it.
Shadowy loves buying into those projects.
Yeah, maybe it's like that's my lottery ticket that I don't mind playing, but buying with small money because they never turn out. Have you seen one of these derivative projects really work?
Gambling Apes is probably there's two projects I really like, Gambling Apes and Huxley. I'm bought into both of them, and they're doing things a little bit different than some of the other projects that I've seen.
Pull up the Twitter page of @punk4156.
Oh, Cage is coming in here with some juicy info.
Okay.
So just real quick on
what you were doing while you were gone? Yeah, go on, G.
Real quick on Gambling Apes, I think they're one of the coolest. My buddy Tim Washer put me onto it. So he said that they took a little while to actually develop the roadmap, and the Discord and community was on edge. But now that they've done a few things cool. So one, if you're a holder, they host internet poker tournaments where you can win prizes, you win ETH, you win money, but your buy-in is simply the holding of the NFT, which is super cool. Second thing that they're doing is they're opening their own casino in Decentraland. So if we are going to live in this metaverse, the holders of the NFT get to share in the profits of the casino. Pretty freaking cool, right? And third, even though they're not as good as us, because we have a Whatnot show telling people which place to bet on Sunday, and they fade me and make millions, they also give out free picks.
Listen, before we read about Punk 4156, how about Gary V's most recent, the Flower Girls? You want to talk about the Flower Girls for a minute? Different kind of art, sort of like a paper type of art, like not 3D, not the same type of like computer generated stuff. He seems to be heavy into it. Want to chat about that a bit? I know you know all about it.
You want me to break it down for you?
Yeah, break it down.
It's stupid. It's hideous. I regret buying into it.
What?
I'm mocking Shadowy.
Yeah, I don't have a taste for art yet. So this is what the art looks like. Go on, take it away, Andrew.
I mean, okay, so Wabib. This is a project that we're bought into. If you guys go onto the holder page, you'll see that cheap. My name is on the first page. That's a place bid. And Cage's is towards the top. But I thought what was cool about this is it kind of reminded me, I don't know why this came to mind, like Frida Kahlo.
Yes. Good call.
I don't know what that art is called. So you guys out there, I apologize. I'm not really an art connoisseur, but I'm always on OpenSea. I look at rankings all the time. I think the Baby Ape Club is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life, but I haven't seen another project like this. And it was cool. Reese Witherspoon, I believe she bought the 1-of-1 print of this artist. It's a well-known artist. Gary owns a lot of these. Logan Paul owns a lot of these. Diplo bought a few. Marshmello, the DJ, bought a few. And they did the reveal last night. And I mean, people really like the art. So I don't know if there's anything more for me to say.
We own this, guys. Just to make sure you know that we own this. Both Andrew and I own more than one of these. But I think it's cool. It's just different. It's different kind of art. Look at that. It's just interesting. So did you read enough of the tweets there, Shadowy Coder of 415? Did you read the one on December 5th that talks about how he was 8 figures deep in punks?
Oh, December 5th. No, I just read this pinned tweet. But December 8th, 8 figures deep in punks? No, what did you want to see? What did you want to say about it?
Well, that was the one that explained why he was moving out of them. But if you I'm sure there's multiple tweets that say the same thing. But this is just one example of obviously somebody who owned.
There it is. Oh, a little bit up, I think, was.
What number? What date? December 5th?
Yep. Guys, can you still hear me?
This tweet says derivatives on CCO projects are like dApps on Ethereum. Centralized brands will laugh at us for years saying we don't know.
10:26 a.m. Can you hear me? 12:05 at 10:26 a.m. I love punks, but the copyright issue kind of broke my heart. I held deep 8 figures of punks, and the devs unfollowed me when I suggested it. Wouldn't respond to DMs. I'm going to keep 4156 probably forever, but will otherwise be focusing my time on nouns, toads, and other. Do you see that one or no?
No, I don't know why, but I can't see it.
You didn't scroll down far enough. That was pretty obvious. But what are nouns?
I was on December 5th.
It's another NFT. It's another NFT.
Nouns?
Yep.
134 items, 69 floor price. I don't understand anything anymore. Sometimes when I get a project and I say, it's all on the chain.
It looks
on
like
the line.
It's all pixelated.
Listen. That's why I love CryptoPunks, because they're off the chain.
Look at what they started at. They started in October. One sold for 200 ETH. They haven't been moving much. What is going on? This project is confusing me right now.
Well,
guys,
we're going to do research for next time.
Oh, I'm really excited for the research. We're gonna aggregate that for you guys one day in a newsletter, in a YouTube video or podcast of sorts. All right,
I don't know what's going on here.
Crypto casuals. I'm funny today, so I'm getting a good response. There's this cool project called Huxley Comics. It's another one that's it's the first of its kind where you bought into Mint was 0.1. It was this NASA engineer, I believe, that created the project, and he created he's a world builder. He's like a visual designer. He's built more games, but he's also worked for NASA and DARPA, which is pretty cool. But he's built like Halo and Call of Duty and some other things. He's worked on big blockbuster movies as well. But he created a comic book where
this is his passion project, which is cool.
Yep, it's a first edition comic book. Like, I don't want to compare him to Stan Lee, but it's like, let's say Stan Lee was creating Marvel now. You would get the digital version by holding the NFT, and you could have it's called tangible, the real version shipped to your house, right? So you could get both.
Yep.
And if you could tell me, I don't know if you know about the Genesis token and all that, like you could burn 2 of your NFTs and like put them into like a Genesis token.
Yeah, this is something super confusing. You need like a PhD to understand all this, but you can do 3 things. You can either hold all of your tokens, you can burn 2 of your 5 tokens, or you can start hunting.
He's the best researcher in the business for a reason, folks.
Yeah. If you decide to hold your 5 tokens, you first got to go onto their website and create a Genesis block out of them. And then second step is to turn the 2 of them into a Genesis avatar token, which eventually then will give you a PFP. So that's one way you could go about it. Me personally, though, I'm not...
Station. You combine the 2 stations into one big station from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Exactly. My play is going to be to hold, though. So I'm not even turning them into a Genesis block or anything. My play right now is I'm gonna go for delayed gratification.
Tell me how surprised.
I think everyone's going to be.
How surprised that he's holding?
holding.
He
It's the
yesterday
play.
told me. Yesterday he's like, sell your winners, hold your losers.
That was a half joke, but actually
Sell,
that's half of what I
sell
do as
high.
well.
Sell high after you buy low.
That's
Why
the
don't
ultimate
you think of
dream.
that?
Wait, so we got 2 minutes here. We got to wrap. Why are you holding? Why are you not converting to a Genesis token?
Because I think people who can delay gratification will be best rewarded in this case. It's so tempting it's so tempting to go turn these things into PFPs and just to play the game. But I think that too many people are going to play the game, and there's not going to be enough of the pure comics left, not enough of the pure NFTs left.
Okay, cool.
So my NFTs will just be scarce because I didn't touch them at all. And eventually, there's going to be more and more utility that comes out as people start hunting and things like that. So I think I'm going to be one of the few holders that have pure NFTs from the original issue number 1.
I
That's
should
my
have used
play.
that line in high school. I said, ladies, this body is scarce because nobody touches it.
Well, you know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you they're going to delay your gratification. That's the response.
That's another episode of Crypto Casuals. No one does it like us. Banter, jokes, and I think maybe a stash of crypto and NFT.
Yeah, maybe a little education in here, maybe just a bit.